Welcome back. Still with me in the studio, Shaun Latter, Wealth Manager at Quaestor Wealth Management. Let's just come back to these different instruments that you say could work if you're looking at immigrating. Because, oh, sorry, if you've just joined us, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about immigration and how to try and work your way through that. But you've discussed the retirement annuity side of it, which the Reserve Bank says it's fine. You can take that with you.
Yep.
What are the other ones?
Well, I mean, when it comes to investments as well, when we start talking about the 4 million or 8 million rand allowance, you can either do that by physical cash, or you can actually do it through the instruments that you own on the stock exchange. So there's no real problems there in terms of saying, I have this investment, I want to maintain this investment, even if it is on the JSE, or I want to then do a stock trade over to a different platform or whatever the case may be. You can actually do that.
You can utilize that 8 million rand against an instrument. Is that what you say?
Yes. Yeah.
So
it doesn't have to be physical cash, in other words.
Okay. Right. Now, we're throwing in a whole lot of hypotheses here. So I'm going to immigrate. Okay. By the way, I'm not immigrating, okay? So you don't have to start sending me emails saying, why are you immigrating? Tell us your reasons. I'm not immigrating. This is just for the purposes of a discussion. Let's make that clear. I'm immigrating and I'm going to Canada. I want to come back to South Africa at least once a year for about 3 months because I want to go to the bush and I want to see family and all the rest of it. So I want to keep some money here, that I don't have to bring money with me.
Semigration.
Semigration. That's a nice word. Semigration.
Yeah,
okay, I like that. I'll use that. Thank you. So as part of my semigration, can I then use that 8 million rand to say, I'm leaving, let's throw numbers in the air, 4 million here on the stock market and 4 million in some of the investment that gives me a return every year. And that money, the return, is what I use to fund my visit back here.
Any money you leave in the country will not have to form part of that 8 million whatsoever. Okay, so you can say, I'm going to take my 8 million, in addition to that, I'm going to keep X amount here. It doesn't form part of that equation. So that's the first thing, is to say, if you're leaving it here, don't worry about the allowance, it's null and void. And you can then hold share portfolios, you can hold different investment policies, you can hold different investment instruments and assets for that matter here in this country. And it's going to be for your use when you come back at any point to visit family, friends, whatever the case may be. I think this raises a point where I see it most commonly done, and I think for good reason, is that if you do have a retirement annuity fund, okay, first of all, to get it out the country, you've got to be below 55. Okay, so if you're not below 55, you say, well, I have to do something else with this. And I think that's where it becomes quite important for people, where they say, well, I'm going to keep the retirement annuity here in South Africa, even if I haven't retired yet. I'm going to leave it here because I've got all the tax deductions on it up until now. It's still a great investment. If I withdraw it, I now get the first 22,500 rand tax-free. The rest of it, SARS is going to take some healthy chunks out of, and it works on a sliding scale. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to preserve that capital there. When I get to 55, I'm going to turn it into a living annuity. I'm going to start drawing income from it. Now, as we all know, with a living annuity, you do pay tax on that money, but it'll be at a much lower rate than what it would be if you were living in the country. So what that can then do is start to fund those visits back here, in addition to, or as a complementary investment to whatever other shares that you maintain in the country. So I think it's important to say, if you are planning to come back and visit, which most people are, it's really around selecting those investments wisely, as to say, what am I going to leave here and what am I going to take with me? Because
I also would imagine that you would want to leave money here because if you're invested, for example, in the Joburg Stock Exchange, you're in an emerging market, and that's right now where you're finding the returns. You're not finding the returns in the international markets.
Sure. Absolutely. I think on that basis as well, again, it's going to come down to what age are you and what are you trying to achieve with the money that you do have. If you are going to retire in a different country now, and I use the Malaysia example, okay, you can put your million and become a citizen, you get all the benefits over there, and you can live very, very comfortably in that country with very little in the way of assets. If you're retiring, and it's anywhere in the world, general principles when it comes to planning, specifically from an offshore perspective, is to say, invest in the currency you're going to spend. So if you are going to move abroad, and it is to retire, as far as possible, and where it makes sense from a currency point of view and a market point of view, you want to take as much of that money with you. So you don't have fluctuations in the rand meddling with your income. You don't have capital fluctuations meddling with your income. If you're then saying, well, when I come back 3 months out of the year, yes, I'm going to draw an income out of my South African basket, absolutely fantastic. Leave it here. It'll grow nicely in rand terms, and it'll do very, very well for you in terms of giving you some kind of an income to fund those travel trips that you are going to spend in this country or surrounding countries for that matter.
So if you're going to the UK, you're saying you need to take as much as you can in UK pounds.
Yeah, provided it is a thing of saying you're going to go there to retire, and that retirement date is relatively in the short term. Absolutely, it's a common principle you're going to have to look into. If the rand is incredibly strong, which at the moment it seems to be on fair value, but if the rand is very, very strong, you want to say, well, maybe I'll delay it for a bit. If the rand is very weak, you say, well, let's jump at the opportunity. By the same token, you say, well, what's the level of the market over there versus the level over the market here? You know, is it cheaper there than it is over here? Then there's perhaps opportunity to be made in those markets. So like I said, it's a general principle, but currency and the value of the market are critical in terms of when and how you make that move across from a financial perspective.
I would imagine if I was sitting down talking to you on a one-on-one basis and saying, Shaun, you know what, I'm thinking of moving overseas right now to the UK, you'd probably be going, bad time right now, given where the rand is and also what's happening in the markets over there.
I think that's true, yeah. I mean, the rand, like I said, fair value at the moment, there's a lot to believe from the analysts. I'm not one of them, but there's a lot to believe from the analysts that we will see rand weakening over the next few years. So again, from a currency point of view, is it great? No, but perhaps look at some of it going offshore right now. Why do I say some of it? I think with the right asset manager, you can start saying, well, there are stocks in the UK market that are very, very attractively priced, that are very, very good businesses, and in time, they're going to produce the results. So you want to get in when those markets are struggling in certain companies.
Are there any, I mean, you see in the weekend newspapers, you often see adverts for immigration lawyers and all the rest of it to Australia and to Canada. Those seem to be the two big markets.
Yes.
Are there any specialist immigration wealth advisors, or do most wealth advisors have a fairly good knowledge or decent-ish knowledge to be able to advise your clients? I mean, if I was a client of yours and I came to you and said, I'm thinking of moving to Canada, would you be able to handle that on my behalf from an asset point of view? Oh, so you would.
Yeah. So from an advisory point of view, absolutely. Yeah. I think when it comes to, you know, completing documents and getting all the right steps in tow, I would look at saying, well, get a lawyer involved there to make sure everything runs perfectly smoothly, because there's also other things that you're going to have somebody like an attorney or perhaps an accountant as well dealing on your behalf with, and that has to do with the tax returns that you'll still have to do potentially in this country. You might not pay it in this country, but you have to do the returns in this country.
But your advisor should be able to give you...
The advisor should be, but Jeremy, just this small caveat to that is what you have to remember is people look at the financial advice industry, and from a trustworthy or knowledge point of view, it's next to zero, and I think they're right. There's 100,000 registered representatives with the FSB here in our country, but out of that, there's probably about 2,500 certified financial planners, okay? So 2.5% of the market is owned by certified financial planners. If you want somebody who's going to be able to give you pretty good advice around what we're talking about now, that's where you're going to find them. Not in the other 97.5% of product
So that's what you're
sellers.
looking for, a certified financial...
That's your first port of call.
Provider.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Shaun, thank you very much for taking time out to join us again.
Pleasure.
Nice to see you. Nice to have had you with us as well. Until next time, bye-bye.